Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Jake from. Be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Drew Butler. He is at From Jake. Puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. Jake, we're recording this on a Monday night. Our schedules have changed a little bit since you are currently with the Washington Commanders, but boy, do we have a lot to get into. The top of the college football world is led by the University of Georgia. It's pretty remarkable. What an unbelievable weekend for the Dogs. They dismantled number one ranked Tennessee 27-13 between the hedges.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was awesome to watch as a Dog fan. Just the absolute domination for 4 quarters. That was great. And then, just college football in general. There's a lot of things going on. LSU beats Bama. Notre Dame beats Clemson.
Wow.
A lot of things happening. A lot of things to unravel. Big time stuff.
We're rounding up week 10. We're heading into week 11. It's, November, Saturday's the 12th, I think. That's crazy. You got a couple weeks left of regular season college football. The conference championship games are starting to kind of take shape. College football playoff rankings, the second installment comes out tomorrow. I think everybody knows who will be ranked number one, but you just said it. So much to get into, so many things happen. And before we get into those things, boy, do I have some news for you. Yes, this episode of Punt and Pass is presented by our awesome partners at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. You know about Solomon Brothers Jewelers by now, the largest diamond and jewelry inventory in the Southeast. They have the lowest prices on the highest quality jewelry and diamonds, guaranteed. The biggest selection, the best quality, the lowest prices, and an in-store experience that is totally unmatched. They have two amazing locations, one in Alpharetta, just past the Avalon, the other in Buckhead, 17th floor, Tower Place. And get this, Jake, holiday season is right around the corner. So Jaron and Maya over at Solomon Brothers said, let's do something special. It is time to give away two $1,000 gift cards to Solomon Brothers Jewelers. How amazing is that? All you have to do is the following. One, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/punt and pass. Two, follow Solomon Brothers on either Twitter or Instagram, at Solomon Brothers on Twitter and Instagram. Follow our YouTube page. You can find it at puntandpass.com. That's it. I will be putting up on our website, puntandpass.com, how to enter. We will pick two $1,000 gift card winners to go enjoy Solomon Brothers Jewelers. The only caveat is you have to spend them in store, right? No online gift cards. This is an in-store gift card redeem. So how amazing is this? We've given away a Rec Tech. We always give away free winners on Prize Picks. We gave away 4 tickets to the Georgia-Kent State game. And now, Jake, we've got two $1,000 gift cards to Solomon Brothers Jewelers to give away. Punt and Pass, the best college football podcast in the country. Am I right?
Dude, that's big time, and we're giving. Does it get any better than that?
No, it does not get any better than that. Again, SolomonBrothers.com, at Solomon Brothers on Instagram and Twitter. If you go there, and if you don't win the gift card, just mention Punt and Pass or myself or Jake. You get 10% off your jewelry purchase. So again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow Solomon Brothers on either Twitter or Instagram. You'll be entered. Check puntandpass.com for more details. All right, Jake. Let's go ahead and talk about this Georgia-Tennessee game. The atmosphere was insane. College Game Day was there. SEC Nation was there. The buildup was so big. It was the first time ever the number one team in the college football playoff ranking took on the number one team in the AP poll. And Georgia took care of business from literally kickoff all the way until the end. The crowd was amazing. Coach Smart was fired up. The boys played at a high level. You were texting me all throughout the game. I know you were fired up.
Dude, I was pumped, man. It was fun to watch. Just sitting in my hotel room in DC watching the Dogs play. It's like I'm always in a random hotel room watching the Dogs play when they're playing their biggest games of the year. But, man, super fun to watch. You can't say enough about them. Obviously, what they did on offense, scoring points, but defensively, really shutting down arguably the highest powered offense in college football. To me,
Statistically, the highest powered offense, but
yeah,
yes.
yeah. And you have to me my MVP of the entire game, and he may not have the most stats. He does have a big one in his sack fumble, which should have been a safety, by the way. But Jalen Carter,
Yeah.
I mean, was an absolute brute, a monster, a wrecking ball that entire game. His presence was felt, and it was great to have him back for the Georgia defense for sure.
As a quarterback, when a D lineman or a D tackle is that disruptive so consistently throughout a game, like what do you do? Are you like, oh my God, how do we combat this? This guy's kicking ass. What do you do to limit the impact that Jalen Carter had seemingly the entire game? He was highly disruptive, and man, it was great to see him back on the field.
Oh yeah, I mean, funny story about myself here. I'm sitting in the sauna this past week with Chase Young and Deron Payne, and Chase, great edge rusher, but I told him I was like, hey, like you can be as good as you want on the edge, but when I step up into a pocket and there's just a big monstrous human being just bull rushing the interior guards in the center, and there's nowhere for me to step up in the pocket, like that is a suffocating feeling for a quarterback and to step up in a pocket, not have anywhere to go, getting hit in the face, it is not a fun feeling playing quarterback. And that's why I just think Jalen Carter just absolutely dominated that game from start to finish.
He did dominate that game, and you and I talked about it on Thursday. The way that this Georgia defense was going to affect Tennessee's high-powered offense was to get a pass rush with 4, with 5, allow the DBs to play little man coverage. You said it. They were not going to play zone. You're like, there's no way they're going to play zone. They're going to have to man these guys up, and that puts the pressure on the D linemen, on 1 or 2 linebackers to get home. And the way you get home is you make Hendon Hooker take 1 extra second trying to find Jalen Hyatt, trying to find Cedric Tillman. And they had that defensive game plan so dialed, and it made Kamari Lassiter, and it made Keely Ringo, and it made Christopher Smith look really, really good. And that's when you talk about a sound defense from the front end to the backside that can just take advantage of a game plan and really, really dominate a football game.
Yeah, when I'm thinking back to it, there were 2 deep balls that they missed during the game. They could have easily swung momentum in their favor, but just the presence of the defensive line getting to the quarterback, and just I'm telling you that just it's such a big deal in a football game because you just don't know as a quarterback, oh hey, do I have time this time in the pocket? Because man, that last time I just dropped back, it was, hey, 1, 2, 3, ball's got to come out, and I'm getting hit. So you just it keeps you on edge, it keeps you unknowing, and you just don't feel like you can get in a rhythm. And it felt like he couldn't get in a rhythm throwing the football and missed 2 deep shots that could have changed the outcome of the game.
What was your initial reaction when the fumble happened in the very first stages of the game and Georgia loses the ball and Tennessee gets on it and Tennessee puts 3 on the board quick? You're like, oh my God, here we go. That's what I said. I said the key to the game was who is going to win the turnover battle. That will clearly decide the outcome of the game. You cannot give this type of offense extra possessions. You cannot give them any gimmies. And Georgia serves one up on a platter first drive. Now, here's what I'll say before I get your answer. You and I talked about knowing what to expect in these big game type atmospheres. If you were to get punched in the face, or if you do step on your own foot like Georgia did with that fumble, how are you going to react? Georgia not only stepped on their own foot, but then kind of got punched in the face and reacted so positively, so quickly. The game got out of hand like that. As soon as this defense gets up 21-3, you're like, dude, I'm going to the fridge and get me a cocktail because this game is over.
Yeah, I think the experience, the poise, that we can just talk about the defense specifically here. After Tennessee's offense gets the ball, first drive, plus side of the field,
you're like, here we go. I know.
Every Georgia fan right now is squirming. They're like, oh, no, this isn't good. Tennessee's just about to throw up a shot here and score, yada, yada. But that is such a huge, pivotal point in that game where they only give up 3 points, which was given where they got the ball. Hey, you're going to get points here. But that was a huge stop. But I think you could just tell the poise and the experience that the guys displayed of just being there before, being in a big time moment, and playing at home too definitely helped.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Tennessee goes up 3-0 early, and then Stetson leads a 5-play, 80-yard drive in only a minute and 33 seconds. Yep. And he pulled that ball down to get a 13-yard touchdown run, which took my prize picks, #DB's freebie, over immediately. I was fired up. That hit, no big deal. It was a flex play. I gave you 4, 3 of them hit. That was a winner. But that touchdown run really set the tone because Stet stayed inbounds, lowered his head, met with some contact at the goal line. It's a touchdown. And then from there on, man, the crowd was so into it. I saw a tweet that said, reported that the crowd reached 137 decibels, Jake. It was like the highest recorded decibel rating in any college football game ever. I didn't go to the game. My dad was there. He said, dude, it was absolutely insane. I talked to Muhammad Massaquoi today. He said it was the best game he's ever been to, a player or a fan. Unanimously, people were saying that the atmosphere inside Sanford Stadium was such a big difference. Tennessee had 7 pre-snap penalties. I think 6 more. How many penalties did they have in the game? I mean, they had over 10 penalties in the game. But huge kudos to the crowd because they were the 12th man. They were challenged, and they met that challenge, and they proved to be a huge difference maker.
Yeah, and I definitely think whenever you get a false start or an illegal procedure that happens, a pre-snap penalty for Tennessee's offense, it just gets the crowd even doubling down.
Oh, yeah.
Even more like, oh, yeah, that was us. Let's go. Which is awesome. I mean, to even come close to 137 decibels, anything over 120 is just loud. And it's such a marginal difference every single one you go up after that. But, man, kudos to the crowd showing up and showing out. Arguably the home games didn't get a great home game kind of deal on games this year. Wasn't very many of them, but this one was a big one, and they needed it for sure.
Play of the game. The play of the game
was
Brett Thorson's 75-yard punt that was
down
at the 1-yard line. My phone exploded. I mean, obviously.
Because I even texted you.
Yeah, you text me. I mean, those are the types of plays right there. And then Jalen Carter, I have no idea how that was not a safety. That ref, I mean, that was crazy how they talked themselves out of that. I think you were the one that texted me. You were like, it's either an incomplete pass or it's a safety. It is not down at the 1. Is that what they said?
I wish I would have done better homework on figuring out, because I even asked our OC here about the ruling on it had to be either 3rd or 4th down about a fumble going forward. And that's just in the NFL, I don't know for sure. But yeah, I got to go look back at the college rules on fumbling, because if you fumble it forward and they get the ball, sometimes they'll let you do it and sometimes they won't. So if he fumbles it forward and they recover it, well, then they would have gone down to where he fumbled it. Well, he fumbled it in the end zone. So give me the old safety hands. I mean, what?
I couldn't believe that.
And even then, from all angles we saw, the dude's knee was down, ball in hand, nowhere even close to the goal line. I don't know what they were seeing or what angle they had.
So impressive that punt was. And you knew when that ball was marked at the 1-yard line, you're like, Georgia's about to get a safety. I mean, they are going to tee off. And like, it was the next play. I mean, there was no chance that Tennessee was getting out of that end zone. I know it was the open end of the field. If it was the closed end of the field, I don't even know if they would have been able to get a snap off. It was the open end of the field, right? I believe that.
It was the closed end.
Oh, was that the closed end? Yeah. I mean, so unbelievable. That whole moment, that crowd, I mean, it must have literally been shaking on the field. In those moments, they just twist the entire momentum of the game. Everybody was fired up. If you watch the replay, I've got it on my Twitter at Drew Butler. Like, people on the sidelines from the media are like jumping up and down because the punt was unbelievable. It was awesome. Truly an unbelievable punt. And I would be remiss not to say Jake Camarda yesterday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
He went off. He had like 6 punts for a 60-yard average. He had a 74-yarder. Georgia punters, man. Game changers. What an unbelievable play by Brett Thorson, though. Again, somebody tweeted me and said his nickname needs to be the Boomin' Onion. because he's
Bloomin' onion.
Australian, Bloomin' Onion,
I like
Outback
it.
Steakhouse. I
I
like
like
that.
it.
I still like the milkman because obviously he was a dairy farmer, but unbelievable punt that was. Really a huge game changer. My X factor, Keely Ringo was one of them. You know, obviously Keely had a great game, interception. Chaz Chambliss, he stepped up pretty big too. He was my true X factor. But you hit the nail on the head. You were like offensive line, which totally dominated the game for Georgia. And then Stetson Bennett, right? It's like,
Dude,
hey, there's no secret. Stetson Bennett needed to play great. He did, Jake. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, and Stet, he, excuse me, Stet hit his shots down the field too. After the fake safety that wasn't a safety, get a short punt. Next play hits a shot to Lad McConkey, who scored. I guarantee you, he scored on the exact same play versus Auburn last year, I think. But anyway, it was a stutter go off a waggle. And
is that when he got behind Auburn safety last year?
I think so. I'll have to go back and do some research on it. But I've seen that play. Ladd scored on that before. Anyway, but it was just great. Stetson hitting his shot, and then the touchdown he had on the double post in the end zone. It was really tight. Throws it over the guy, layers it over his head. Marcus Rosemary Jackson, incredible play. That was awesome. I mean, the touch within the pace the ball needs there to come off his hand. It's such a delicate thing because he's got to get it up and over, and he has such a short space to do it because they were really tight down in there. I believe they're around the 5-yard line. So it's a very, very tough throw to make, and he did it. And then a few other throws, and well, it was nice to see too early in the game the success they had running the football. After those first couple drives, I'm like, all right, these guys can run the football today. It's going to be a long day for Tennessee.
Yeah, Kenny McIntosh looked great. I know he fumbled that ball. He did fumble that ball early, right? Yeah. In the first quarter. But other than that, 10 carries, 52 yards for Kenny. Great game, like you said. Total control from this offense, both in the run game and pass game. Stetson 17-25, 257, 2 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker on the other side, 23 of 33, 195 yards and an interception. Yikes. Jalen Hyatt completely shut down. Cedric Tillman led them in receiving yards, 7 catches and 68 yards. Jabari Wright, 21 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown. And Lad McConkey, 5 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. So just all in all, completely dominant game from Georgia. Georgia now in the year 2022, Jake, has beaten the number 1 ranked team in the college football playoff twice. Alabama in the national championship game and Tennessee this past Saturday. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I would highly doubt that it has.
So. Yeah.
So good on Georgia. You know, it's a stamp of approval to say we're here. We've been in these moments. Thank you very much. It was a good storyline while it lasted. Now it's like, what's going to happen, right? Because Alabama just lost to LSU. So LSU's leading in the SEC West. Clemson lost to Notre Dame. ACC seems to be out. TCU goes to Texas this weekend. I don't know, Jake. It's going to be crazy. Before we touch on that, though, any finishing thoughts on Georgia? Now 9-0, 6-0 in SEC play. They're going to be number 1 in the college football playoff poll. They've got 2 more SEC games at Mississippi State this weekend and then at Kentucky next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they're the standard for college football right now, defensively and offensively. I feel like their offense just doesn't get as much love as it should because they're scoring points just with anybody else. They're top 5s and all of these categories just as well, all the same. And the defense is playing well. If they play complementary football and take care of the football, I mean, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, you're totally right. One last question because you talked about it so well. Stetson's throw to Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, the teardrop throw, so much touch, finesse, but things are moving so fast. You said it's a 5-yard line. I mean, it ain't like you got 40 yards to play with. What's your key to know you're going to Jacksaint running on the end line of the end zone? Are you seeing kind of the middle of the field open up a little bit? Do you understand that it's zone and you're trusting him to kind of beat the man and then you're just going to throw the ball where only he can catch it? Like, when are you making that decision as a QB, not looking at the flats, not going to a big guy like Darnell, but saying, hey, I got Rosemy-Jacksaint running across the end line. I'm just going to throw it up near the goalpost and make him go get a play.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with great design of the play, knowing what coverage we're going to get going into it. And anytime you're in the red zone, automatically things happen faster. It's quicker. Got to process stuff faster, and you have to have a quick trigger with no regrets throwing that football. Because if you think for just a second, everything's just tighter. It's more condensed. And honestly, man, I thought that was a flawless decision. Got it up and over. It was great. He saw a backer, the safety squeeze on Brock there, who kind of cleared it out. Got a little room, got a window, and executed very well, I might say.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great throw, great catch. And that got the game to 21-3 at the beginning of the second quarter. What a start for Georgia. Really an impressive win. Awesome. You know what else is impressive? Solomon Brothers giving away 2 $1,000 gift cards to listeners of Punt and Pass. Solomon Brothers is the best jewelry store in the Southeast. They offer interest-free financing options, Jake, custom jewelry design, lifetime diamond upgrades, 2 beautiful stores with the best service ever. One of those stores is in Alpharetta, just by the Avalon. The other's in Buckhead, 17th floor, Tower Place. All you have to do to win one of these 2 $1,000 gift cards is follow Punt and Pass, subscribe to Punt and Pass on YouTube, and then follow at Solomon Brothers on either Twitter or Instagram. Check out puntandpass.com for further details. Solomon Brothers Jewelry, the biggest selection, the best quality, the lowest prices, and an in-store experience that is totally unmatched. SolomonBrothers.com, at Solomon Brothers on Instagram and Twitter. Check us out at Punt and Pass. We're giving away 2 $1,000 gift cards. There's nothing better. Mention Punt and Pass. You get 10% off your jewelry purchase. All right, Alabama loses in overtime to LSU. And LSU goes for 2. I stayed up and watched this game. I don't know if you were still up watching it. Brian Kelly's zero hesitation going for 2.
Oh, yeah.
Great play call right at the pylon is awesome.
But to me, something's going on over Alabama because in the most critical play of the game, they had 12 players on the field.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly, for some reason, had to call a timeout. Then they go right back out to it. To go for 2 again. And Alabama subs their defenders again. And guess what? They got 12 players on the field again. And all Jayden Daniels had to do was snap it, get a free play. But he saw him run out and did his play, and they scored all great. But I mean, what's going on over there? And they had penalties galore again.
I know.
It's just, it doesn't look clean. They threw for a lot of yards, had a lot of yardage, a lot of this and a lot of that, but it's not clean. It's not the crisp Alabama coached up football that we're used to seeing.
It's not discipline.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
The one thing you could always rely on Alabama was this. They were going to wait for their opponent to make the mistake, and then they were going to kill them.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be mean, but you were a part of that a couple of times. It's like when Georgia made the mistake, it was over. It's the fake punt. It's, I love him, but Rod missed that 33-yard field goal in the SEC championship game, and Alabama just trounced. They go, okay, here we go. This is our time. And that's gone. The turnovers, the penalties, I don't care how much talent you have on a football field. If you turn the ball over and if you have a lot of penalties and shoot yourself in the foot, you will lose football games. Alabama now has lost 2 football games this season. I mean, obviously the Tennessee game, but then this one on the road in Death Valley. Brian Kelly's first season as the head coach of LSU. Jayden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State. This is a team, LSU, that had no identity early on in the season, and now they're in the driver's seat to go to the SEC championship game, Jake. Really an unbelievable game. I mean, that fourth quarter was crazy. Alabama touchdown, LSU field goal, Alabama touchdown, LSU touchdown to go up 21-24, and then Reichard makes a 46-yarder with 20 seconds left to tie the game at 24. And then Alabama scores quick in overtime. LSU hits him right in the face, goes for 2, game over. Really a fascinating game. LSU rushes the field.
Yeah.
See some great videos of the fans having a blast. And I saw Peter Burns ask this question from SEC Network. When will we reach the point that beating Alabama is not like field storm worthy? What is that sooner rather than later, or is it just the name Saban? I mean, Bryce Young, we got to get to his heroics. The guy is phenomenal getting out of the pocket. It's so fun to watch. I tweeted out, I go, college football is the best. This is unbelievable.
I think as long as Saban's there,
I would agree with that.
It's grounds for doing so.
Yeah.
But I'm looking here at the AP top 25 here, and I can't remember the last time I ever saw Alabama ranked number 10 in the country for anything. I mean, this is
I know, dude.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it other than it's just,
And some jackass Steve Batterson voted Ohio State number 1 over Georgia. That's why they're not the unanimous number 1. This is me putting my Georgia bias aside, right? Like, did you watch the game on Saturday?
There's nothing to argue about.
There's nothing to argue. Georgia has 62 first place votes. Ohio State has 1 in the AP poll. Ohio State's number 2. Michigan's number 3. TCU's number 4. Tennessee's number 5. Oregon's number 6. Did you see the tweet about what could be a very real college football playoff possibility? It would be number 1, Georgia.
Okay.
Number 2, Michigan. Number 3 or number 4, it doesn't matter, Tennessee and Oregon. Okay. Michigan, Tennessee, and Oregon would have lost to Georgia in their last loss.
I saw that. That's crazy.
How crazy is that? I mean, and that is very, very real because if Michigan beats Ohio State, they're going to go to the Big Ten Championship, probably win that. They're in. Oregon wins the Pac-12, depending on what TCU does. They should be in with their only loss being to Georgia. And then Tennessee sitting on the sidelines playing with house money. They're now the biggest Georgia fans in the world.
Right.
And they'll see what happens later on. But LSU, I mean, don't blink. Ranked number 7 right now. Bet you they're higher than that in the college football playoff. They lost to Florida State in week 1, but that was a crazy ending to that game. And then, of course, Tennessee boat raced them in Baton Rouge, but they're playing with a lot of swag right now. And you wouldn't want to play them in Death Valley at this point in the season. There's no question about that.
All right. My juggernaut in all this is North Carolina, baby.
Oh, come on. Are you picking up what they're putting down?
Let's see. Let's look at the schedule, who they got finishing out here. Who do they have to finish out?
They're playing Wake Forest this weekend, Georgia Tech at home, and NC State at home. And NC State no longer has Devin Leary.
Yeah, dude.
So they're going to go, and they'll be first in the Coastal. So they would play Clemson, because Clemson, that wasn't an ACC game, losing to Notre Dame. I didn't even think about that. So Clemson's still on track to go to the ACC championship game.
I gotcha.
Let's talk about that game. Let me ask you one more question. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I heard Feinbaum talking about this on SEC or on Feinbaum's show Friday afternoon. And he was like, this is not a knock on Will Anderson whatsoever. But Will Anderson, man, has just been relatively quiet this season. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was getting Heisman love. But I think it goes back more so to your questions about just Alabama being undisciplined, him not really getting the opportunities to make those game-breaking plays that he has been known to do in the past. But pretty quiet for Will Anderson. It's not like he's not getting tackles, not getting sacks, but he's just not as disruptive and game-changing from a playmaking perspective as we probably would have thought he was going to be heading into this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty fair take. I mean, I'm not seeing him on the Twitter feed making some crazy, incredible sack or play, like you would think number 1 picks are.
Yeah.
I saw Chase Young on the feed all the time, making some crazy play. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty fair take.
He had 2 tackles and a sack. And 2 tackles, a sack, and a TFL. I mean, that's a 5-star game, man. You got to step up. Bryce Young, though, what he does to get out of the pocket, man, he is remarkable. What do you think? I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. If you're listening, driving your car, I hope I'm not giving you a headache. What do you think about the Heisman race now? I mean, it's been turned upside down. Hendon Hooker gets kind of neutered against Georgia. C.J. Stroud has a tough game against Northwestern.
C.J. Stroud has more rushing yards than passing yards in the last game versus Northwestern.
Wow. Wow.
79 rushing yards, 76 passing yards.
I mean, should Jaden Daniel be in consideration? Should Stet get some love? Blake Corum, running back at Michigan's having a really solid year.
I think this is anybody's trophy.
Drake May, your boy at UNC.
I'm only on the UNC trade because Sam Howell's in the quarterback room up here.
There you go.
But I think it's anybody's trophy. I think it's just going to come down to a lot of how whoever wins it propels their team to finish the way they want to finish. You know, who really steps up? Does Tennessee get in barely into the Final Four, and then Hendon Hooker just play crazy the next two games and win a national championship? Does Alabama somehow finagle their way in to the SEC championship, somehow win that one, and then get into the Final Four, and then Bryce Young takes care of business there? I don't know. I think it's anybody's trophy, honestly.
No, I totally agree. It makes it more exciting.
And then you got Bo Nix over there.
That's another
Oregon,
one. Absolutely.
Who had a passing, rushing, and a receiving touchdown last game, who's balling right now, who got run out of Auburn, by the way.
Yes. Unbelievable. Before we wrap this up, let's talk about that Clemson Notre Dame game. Clemson with everything on the line, obviously ranked number 4 in the college football playoff poll. I flip over watching the Alabama LSU game, and it's like 21-0 Notre Dame. And I was like, what? I picked Clemson. I went, I think I went 4-1 against the spread this past weekend. Thank you very much.
Good for you. You needed that.
I did need that in a big, big way. But yeah, I mean, Clemson just gets exposed in a big way, and a huge win for Notre Dame as well. A great kind of feather in the cap for Marcus Freeman in his first year at South Bend. But shout out to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for essentially knocking Clemson out of the college football playoff in week 10, excuse me.
Yeah, it's good. Somebody needed to do it. Because I just didn't think Clemson was a contender to win a national championship, even though maybe the record suggested otherwise. I just didn't think they were a full team. And Notre Dame kind of exposed them, ran the football all over them, couldn't stop it, couldn't do anything about it. Converted well on third down and scored touchdowns instead of kicking field goals.
Absolutely. So the college football playoff rankings will come out tomorrow night. We, of course, will react accordingly on social media. You can follow us at Punt and Pass. Jake's at From Jake. I'm at Drew Butler. Looking ahead to week 11, Jake, Georgia on the road against Mississippi State in Stark Vegas. They are a 16.5-point early favorite right now. That game kicks off at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Wonder if our boy Sean McDonald's doing that game. I'll have to check with him. LSU's taking on Arkansas in Fayetteville. Watch out. That could be a little sneaky game. They've been riding high. We'll see if Coach Pittman can get him a huge.
I would not be surprised. And then this whole SEC West thing just
turns
shattered.
upside down.
Just say LSU loses, Bama beats Ole Miss, and so they're each at 2 losses.
Well, Ole Miss has to win because Ole Miss loses the tiebreak to LSU.
Yeah. Because Ole Miss will lose tiebreak to LSU and Bama in that situation.
Yeah, that's right. So Ole Miss has to win this weekend at home. That game's at 3:30 p.m. Number 6 Alabama at number 11 Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin looking for some redemption after his stupid popcorn statement a year ago when they got smoked in Tuscaloosa.
They did.
That will be a really good game. And then TCU at Texas. That's the college game day game. TCU's ranked number 7. They'll be higher in the college football playoff poll you'd expect. Texas is now ranked 24. Then your boys, North Carolina, taking on Wake Forest.
Just
that is at 7:30. So a pretty decent slate, but again, conference championship game implications, college football playoff game implications, and dude, we are in the home stretch. It's
all right.
Mid-November.
Before we wrap things up, I need 5 legit contenders for your Final Four. 5 legit contenders.
Okay. Georgia.
Okay.
Tennessee.
Okay.
I like Michigan.
Ooh, Michigan over Ohio State?
Yeah, I do. I don't think Michigan's scared of Ohio State anymore. They got that monkey off their back. They're physical. They can run the ball. They got a good defense too. And that game, I think, is it in Columbus this year? Let me check where that game is this year. But I would put Michigan as my third team to be it's at Ohio State. Can I say Ohio State too? I mean, would that be 4? Is that okay? Or is that kind of like a cop out?
What? Because they play each other.
Yeah.
And
Last
they're
game of the
gonna
season.
and
Yeah.
one of them's gonna kick each other out.
Oregon.
So, okay. All right. So my two sneaky ones that could get in maybe is Oregon and then TCU. I mean,
Yeah, TCU.
if TCU
I
has a
agree.
perfect record and then wins the Big 12, how
are
you going to argue to kick them out?
I totally agree. And it's all, that's the beauty of college football. The playoffs start now, people.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is what's happening. And for some reason, we're so quick to say, let's get 12 teams in. The playoffs start now. So take care of business if you want to make the playoff. But I agree. Great question. Thank you for putting me on the spot. So there we go.
Gotta keep you honest.
Who do the Commanders have this week?
We play the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
Woo! Let's go, baby.
Yes, sir. In Philly.
Hail to the Commanders.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining, Jake. I know you enjoyed the games this past weekend. We all appreciate your insight right here on Punt and Pass. Be sure to follow Jake at From Jake on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. We're at Punt and Pass, puntandpass.com. And again, Solomon Brothers Jewelers is giving away 2 $1,000 gift cards. You have to redeem them in store. They've got 2 amazing locations, one in Alpharetta just past the Avalon, the other in Buckhead, 17th floor Tower Place. 2 $1,000 gift cards to Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Start off your holiday season right. All you have to do, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow Solomon Brothers on either Twitter or Instagram. Check out puntandpass.com. I'll have a page up there on our homepage, all the details that you need to know. Follow them at Solomon Brothers, solomonbrothers.com. Mention Punt and Pass or Drew and Jake. You get 10% off your jewelry purchase. The largest diamond jewelry inventory in the Southeast. That is Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Jake, thanks so much, my man. Have a great week, and we will talk to you all on Thursday. See ya.
We out.